Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Monday to you and your family. Looking at Matic here, of course, helping understand the big picture, best practice, the whole 9 yards. We're going to touch on a few things. Bitcoin dominance is down by a full percent, so we want to acknowledge that because a lot of alts are essentially getting hit hard or also potentially increasing. We're seeing some strange little surges here and there, but Matic is absorbing a lot of that capitalization, and it's kind of a nice thing to see. We can also see bouncing off a key level Fibonacci there at 1.13, essentially $1.13, and still holding strong well above that. We'll redraw out the Fibonacci retracement levels here, but just know if you are new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I truly do just love helping people to trade, or teach them to trade rather, of course. I don't necessarily trade for you, but I do share all of my trades with you. So if you would like to become part of my community, you can obviously enjoy learning and growing alongside some amazing traders, but also sending out signals here too. I mean, just think about the last couple of days, we've taken profit on Ethereum, 83%, only took 2 days to get that. Bitcoin also, we took profits from Bitcoin at about 65% in roughly just over 2 days. And then the most recent signal here for Solana, it was a 20x short. We essentially got in at 37.6 and took 3 profit targets all the way down to about 58% in only 2 hours. So again, those are just little things that I share with my community. They're fully automated and it's a really awesome opportunity. Be sure to check that out in your own time. The last thing too, of course, probably most important in my opinion, just because Bitget's such a phenomenal exchange, tremendously better than Bybit or KuCoin. Highly recommend using it. Link in the description below for that. But we do have this King's Cup Global Invitation, whereas between now and November 20th, you can get registered to essentially be part of the team, and then we hit the group stage for 2 weeks from the 21st to the 3rd of December. Okay. So currently right now, I have about 9 members registered. Need 11 to qualify, but we've got 2 more weeks for registration. We should be good to go. Let me know if you want to be part of that, of course. CryptoCash.tech is a site to register for, my community, but more importantly, you can also reference this as well with the link in the description below. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there. Let's just go ahead and start with some standard stuff and kind of work our way down. Now that we've updated the Fibonacci retracement levels, we can see coincidentally 0.618 right there at about $1.13 is still holding strong. And then of course we've got the resistance here at about $1.30. Okay, so we could be range bound in the next 24 to 48 hours in this area. There's a strong chance that the likelihood of breaking through $1.30 in the immediate future is fairly low. And the main reason why I say that is because we're overextended, but you keep in mind here, we bounced off of 70 in the RSI. When we see that happen, that commonly refers to that as a strong support level. So that reaffirms $1.13 as a support. Okay, so 113 is essentially a very, very strong support level. I think it's appropriate to consider that to be a great bouncing point if the price were to retrace. It obviously did that recently, but furthermore, if it comes down again later, we can expect that to be a positive thing. Also looking at the MACD, we can see these oscillators are still increasing here, so essentially showing that we have more bullish continuation of the upside potential. Based on what we see here so far, I would say that even though it is strong likelihood of the price continuing higher, I still think we're going to face some resistance there at $1.30. In fact, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and see if there's anything else concurrent with that. We can see somewhat of a bottom here recently, close to about the 133 range, where the price action had consolidated. We can also see here, based on volume, that we've got the most amount of volume, again, just saying the rough estimate of the last year and a half, at about 87 cents. I know we're a ways away from that, but it's important to acknowledge that. If we take a closer look here, just say in the last, maybe 6 months or so, there's hardly any volume in the range that we're at right now. So we're kind of in a relative recent price discovery. Essentially, is the reason why we see the price taking off and doing crazy things. So when you are in a price discovery type of situation, the price has a tendency of jumping either direction sporadically. So just be mindful of that. The fact that Matic is doing, 10 to 15% on the day compared to Bitcoin being down by 1.5%. Traditional markets are breaking even. Bitcoin dominance is on the decrease. There's a lot of things here, kind of like a perfect storm allowing Matic to continue. Just keep in mind, it shouldn't continue forever, but once again, we'll look at smaller time frames to identify that. But for right now, the daily looks fairly decent. We're above all moving averages. We have a bounce off 70 in the RSI, once again reaffirming 113 as a support level, and then we obviously have an increase there on the MACD. So those to me are all positive signs, and I like what I see there. If we take a look at the 4-hour, however, we can kind of see a different story where we tested the 20-day simple moving average pretty strong. We've got a most recent potential increase here. I don't think we're going to hold this, but we'll see here soon if that is the case. We got a pretty strong support here also, or slash resistance at 121. So the price were to come back down, we're hoping for a bounce off the 121 to 122 range. Okay. So that's essentially what we're looking at there on the 4-hour. If we take a look at the MACD, we can see that we are potentially converging here. I wouldn't, again, I get the question a lot like, hey, is MACD, like a convergence on the MACD better than just say an overextension? To me, overextensions are stronger. I think they have a tendency of being, more reliable for consistency. Not saying that MACD isn't consistent, it's just that when you have a convergence on the MACD, it doesn't necessarily imply the price is going to take off. But it is usually a very, very good sign, especially on the 4-hour, for a long-term swing trade. Okay. So that being said, the likelihood of Matic continuing higher based on that sentiment is pretty great. But you got to recognize too, we're under 70, over 50 on the RSI. It's kind of relaxing and calming down now, which is good. It's under 70, but we have that resistance level potentially there at 70, kind of holding the price action in place. So to me, based on what we've seen here so far, while we are still ascending positively with a 20-day simple moving average, I don't think we're out of the woods just yet in the sense of breaking through this resistance level until it retests again. What could very well happen, we could see the price come up here and then just kind of do some type of handle pattern. This could be like a really small cup and handle of some sorts. Again, smaller time frames, less reliable, but generally speaking, we are trending towards that. So the 4-hour looks mostly favorable. I just don't think that it's looking amazing, right? So just something to note as well too with overextension. We saw it previously came up to a 9 and got overextended, came back down to pull back and bounced perfectly off 113 to continue higher. Okay, so that was a perfect play. A lot of my community members actually bounced right off at 113 based on that overextension and the fact that it was a key level support. So again, awesome job. Well done to all of you. But in that sense here, what we want to look at is the 1 hour and kind of really see what the micro is telling us and essentially see if there's potential for this to translate into larger time frames. So if we look at this here right now, just most recent, we can see we're at an 8 on TD sequential here. So in the last 8 hours, we've seen pretty much, for the most part, bullish continuation. And just so you know too, in case you're not familiar with TD sequential, all it does is take a sequence of numbers up to 9, takes a fourth previous candlestick and counts up from there. So this candlestick is higher than the fourth previous, therefore it continues to count up. That tells us when we hit a 9, in most cases, it's overextended and it wants to pull back. You see here a previous 9 here as well, price goes sideways and then down. So hypothetically, we're at an 8. We could very well see a similar process where the price goes sideways down to 120 and or once again, 113. Okay, so again, I think it's probably safe to presume though that 113 to 120 is a strong support range and that we shouldn't expect the price action to go much lower unless Bitcoin retests 19,000. I haven't looked at Bitcoin yet today. I don't foresee that being a reality in all cases, but for the most part, stranger things can happen, and there's no doubt that Bitcoin's retracing for the moment, consolidating based on all of its profit that needs to be taken this week from last week. Okay, just makes sense. What goes up must come down. You need to start remembering that if you don't already know that. I have to teach that a lot, just because it's a very rudimentary skill set or understanding rather, but it's very relevant too, because folks like pump and dumps for some reason. I try to stay away from them. I don't like coins that are going parabolic. I think that in most cases they can kind of get you wrecked, and it can be very, very unique circumstances because every situation is different. But what we're seeing here though, and this is a positive sign. Let's try to take this a look, because this is not a parabolic increase. So these increases here, while they are substantial, they're followed by consolidation periods. See the substantial increase, consolidation. Okay, we get another substantial increase. We just want to keep it consolidating. The reason why that's beneficial is because it allows for the price action to get established. The bears eventually concede and give way and say, hey, we're no longer willing to try to sell this off because there's too much buying pressure, and they just let the price continue higher. That is allowed to happen if you have brief, nice periods of consolidation, usually lasting 12 to 24 hours. This is maybe closer to about 18. We got about probably 36 to 48 hours of consolidation here, and that is enough to potentially or warrant the next leg up. All right, so again, just keep that in mind. Looking fairly good there. Let's take a look at the Ichimoku cloud. We are above the cloud, conversion line is above the baseline, and of course lagging span is free and clear. So hypothetically, this is actually a green light to take a position, for lack of better terms, because again, you have confirmation you're above the cloud. I usually like to wait 2 or 3 hours at least. That's exactly where we're at now. I like to wait for the lagging span to be free and clear, which it obviously is, and conversion line above the baseline, telling us we have that momentous uptrend. And what's cool about the conversion line on the baseline on the 1 hour is it typically translates very effectively to the 4-hour MACD. So a lot of times when you see a convergence here, you can see that also occur on the 1 hour when the price breaks above the cloud and that conversion line breaks above the baseline. So mostly positive stuff here. The smaller time frames do indicate that we want to go higher. but the larger time frame does appear that we're slightly overextended. Okay. Now, that being said, we've already established that this is a healthy continuation, and we've had a good amount of consolidation to warrant the next leg up. So based on what we've seen here so far, I think there's a stronger probability the price will increase than decrease. And on top of that, if it does decrease, keep in mind we have a strong support at 113 and 120. So those are two potential good entry points based on the fact that this is the most recent high. The price continued to break or get resisted out there, so to speak, and it came back down. Now that we're above that, it comes back down, that's a likely bouncing point. Okay. Hypothetically, we lose that, we've got a strong support level here based on volume right there at the 113 range. So I really like what I see here so far from Matic. There's a lot more positive than negative. And again, the statistical probability is higher that we're going to increase from here. We could very well see 2 more green days of continuation. Just keep in mind when you have 3 strong green days, such as this right here, you see these 3, it's always followed by a red day. Okay. So if we get 2 strong green days here the next couple of days, you can expect, what would it be? So today's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday we'll see a potential correction if we're to continue higher for 2 more days, right? Again, just a candlestick pattern that is very, very strong, very realistic, especially in momentous uptrends like this. That said, future reference, hypothetical, all the above, right? So that's pretty much what trading is. Again, just trying to figure out what direction it's going to head in the sense of, a statistical probability. And to me, if I were to throw a random number out there, I would say we have a 70% likelihood of further upside than we do downside. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see further consolidation at the 120 to 125 range, and then the next leg up would come from there. I still think it's a little premature to expect the price to shoot straight up, considering we're up almost 12-13% on the day, right? Again, profits will be taken in most cases, especially when Bitcoin dominance starts to increase. So pay attention to that. If Bitcoin dominance starts to come up, then we should start to expect altcoins to decrease. We want Bitcoin dominance to increase, of course. That's a whole other conversation for another day. But for right now, we'll take what we got. Okay. So again, if you are profitable right now, consider taking some profits. Pullback would make sense. But I don't think we're going to see a massive pullback from Matic. All right. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Thanks again for joining me here. Hope you learned something, of course. If you want to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is a site again. Link in the description below. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll see you soon.